Good evening and welcome. Settle in the way your body likes best, maybe a little deeper into the pillow, maybe with your shoulders dropping just a fraction as you exhale. Let this be an unhurried time, a small pocket of calm you don't have to earn. You don't need to hold onto the day anymore. You can place it gently aside, as if you're setting down something you've carried for too long. As you listen, allow your attention to soften. You can follow the story like a slow lantern moving through a winter forest, steady, quiet, and warm. If your thoughts wander, that's perfectly fine. They can drift like snow dust in the air and then settle again. Tonight is simple: clear air, quiet footsteps, and a peaceful path beneath a bright winter sky. You find yourself at the edge of a conifer forest just after a snowfall. In the early winter evening, when the light turns clean and pale, and the world feels rinsed of noise. The sky is clear, an open, cold blue deepening toward night, and the last daylight still lingers behind the treetops, as if it's reluctant to leave something so beautiful. You stand for a moment without moving, letting the stillness greet you first, and you notice how different silence becomes when snow has recently fallen. It isn't empty. It's full, padded, and gentle. Your scarf is wrapped warmly around your neck, holding a pocket of heat close to your throat. The air touches your cheeks with that unmistakable winter bite, not painful, just honest, cold enough to make your face feel awake. When you inhale, the scent of pine arrives immediately, sharp, green, resinous, and clean, layered with the faint mineral smell of snow. It feels like breathing in clarity itself, and you let your lungs fill slowly, then empty without hurry. The path ahead is narrow and familiar in the way. A forest path can be familiar even if you've never walked it before. It's a soft line pressed into white, winding between trunks that rise straight and dark, their branches heavy with fresh snow. Nothing about the trail asks you to be fast. It invites you to take one step and then another, as if walking is simply a way of listening with your body. You begin at a measured pace, slow enough that your footsteps make only a quiet, compact sound, snow compressing under your boots with a muted crunch. Each step leaves a clear print behind you, neat and temporary. The snow on either side of the path looks untouched, smooth as folded linen, except where small mounds have dropped from branches and settled in soft piles. The air is so still that you can almost sense it resting. Above you, the conifers hold their snow like careful hands. Needles peek out in dark green clusters, and the white rests on them in thick, rounded layers. Every now and then, a branch sags slightly, and a small curtain of snow slides off with a hush. The sound is delicate, a brief whisper that ends before it fully begins, and the forest returns immediately to its quiet. You walk on, and your breath makes a faint cloud that dissolves quickly. The cold on your cheeks is constant, but not harsh, and the warmth of the scarf feels steady and reassuring. You can feel it when you move your jaw slightly, the fabric soft against your chin. The contrast is comforting. Cool air on exposed skin, warmth where you're wrapped, balance held gently between them. The path curves, and the trees become a little denser. The sky is still visible in clean patches between the tops, a deepening blue with no haze at all. It's the kind of clear evening that seems to sharpen outlines, the edges of needles, the angles of branches, the fine textures of bark. Even the shadows are crisp, bluish against the snow, as if the light has cooled into a calmer color. You slow a little more, not because you're tired, but because the stillness feels worth matching. You let your arms hang comfortably, then lift one hand to touch a low branch as you pass. The snow on it is thick and powdery, and at the first contact it holds, then loosens. You give the branch a gentle shake, careful and unforced, and a soft shower of snow falls in a quiet cascade, dusting your sleeve and the path beside your boots. A few crystals cling to your glove, and when you glance at them, they sparkle faintly in the fading light. They look like tiny shards of glass, delicate and temporary, each one catching the sky's last brightness. You brush them away with a small movement, and the glove returns to its dark, matte surface. Then your hand drops again, relaxed, and you continue forward. Somewhere deeper in the forest, a single sound appears, a distant, light tap, as if a twig has settled or a cone has released itself from a branch. It's so quiet you might have imagined it, except it has that precise quality real sounds have: a beginning, a middle, and an end. You pause for half a heartbeat, listening, and the forest offers nothing else. The silence closes again, soft and complete. Your attention drifts to the scent of the place. pine is the strongest note, but there are others. The faint sweetness of sap hidden under bark, the dry, papery smell of old needles beneath the snow, and a cool, clean emptiness that feels almost like taste. The air seems filtered through snow itself, stripped of dust and heaviness. Each inhale feels like a small reset. The trail dips slightly, and you can feel the change in grade in your calves, subtle but present. Snow has filled in small irregularities, smoothing the path into an even, quiet ribbon. You step carefully, but without tension, trusting your balance. The rhythm of walking becomes steady step, press, release, like a slow metronome that helps your thoughts settle into order. As you move, you notice how your body naturally adjusts to winter. Shoulders slightly tucked, chin a little lowered into the scarf, hands occasionally flexing inside gloves. The cold keeps everything honest and simple. You're not rushing to arrive anywhere, not chasing a task, not counting minutes. You're only walking, and walking is enough. A low branch extends over the path like an arch. Its needles are dusted with snow, and the weight has bent it into a gentle curve. You duck slightly, and as you pass beneath, you reach up with a gloved hand and brush along the underside. The snow breaks free in a soft spill, pattering lightly onto the ground. A few grains land on your hat and melt slowly from your warmth. A tiny, brief coolness that disappears. The forest seems to accept these small disturbances without reaction. Nothing startles, nothing hurries. The snowfall has given everything a kind of hush, as if the world has been wrapped in cotton. Even the usual rustle of needles in wind is absent. The branches hold perfectly still. You realize there is almost no breeze at all, and that stillness makes each rare sound feel more meaningful. Ahead, the path straightens, and in the distance, you can see a faint openness between the trees. It isn't a clearing exactly, more like a place where the trunks space themselves out, allowing more sky to show through. The color above is shifting now toward evening's deeper tones, and a few early stars are beginning to appear, small points of white, sharp and steady. The sight of them brings an unexpected comfort, like a familiar voice. You stop for a moment, not because you need to, but because you want to be fully present for the quiet. Your boots stand in two shallow impressions, and the snow around them remains untouched. You listen with your whole body. There's your breath, soft and regular, and the faint sound of fabric when you move slightly. Somewhere far away, a branch releases a small load of snow with a gentle sigh, and then the forest returns to its deep, crystalline stillness. When you resume walking, your steps feel even slower, as if the air itself is encouraging softness. Your scarf holds warmth close, and you sense the heat from your skin trapped beneath its weave. It's comforting in a very simple way, like holding a warm mug with both hands. The cold on your cheeks remains, but it has become familiar now. A steady presence that reminded you gently that you are here. The trees on either side are tall, their trunks dark brown and gray, textured with ridges and plates of bark. Snow clings to the bark in small patches, caught in crevices. The lower branches are weighed down, creating sheltered spaces beneath them, small rooms of shadow and stillness. You imagine a fox curled somewhere in one of those spaces, or a hare tucked close, but you don't see any tracks nearby, only the smooth, unbroken snow. You come across a young spruce close to the trail, its branches low and thick with powder. The tree looks like a tiny mountain made of green and white layers. You reach out and gently lift one branch, just enough to ease the weight. Snow slides off in a quiet sheet, falling straight down and puffing up a little cloud as it lands. The branch rises slightly afterward, relieved, and you let it settle back into its natural position. In that moment, the scent of pine becomes stronger, as if the movement has stirred it. It's fresh and vivid, and it makes you think of clean wooden rooms and cold air warmed by sunlight. You breathe it in slowly. The cold air feels almost sharp at the back of your throat, but in a pleasant way, like drinking water that's been chilled by stone. Your cheeks tingle lightly, and you can feel a faint warmth under the skin where cold meets circulation. It's a gentle reminder that your body is working quietly, keeping you comfortable. You adjust the scarf just a little, lifting it higher, and the warmth against your face increases. The fabric smells faintly of laundry soap and your home, a soft, familiar note among the forest scents. The trail continues, and the snow's surface begins to glitter more as the light fades. Tiny crystals catch the remaining daylight at new angles, flashing briefly when you move. It's not bright dazzling, just a subtle shimmer, like the forest is full of small, patient lights. The effect makes everything feel more still, more carefully arranged. You notice how the silence changes the way you hear yourself. The small sounds of your walk, boot on snow, the gentle creak of fabric, your breath are clearer and closer. They don't feel intrusive. They feel like proof of presence. You're part of the scene, not separate from it, moving through it with respectful quiet. A little farther on, you spot a thin twig leaning into the path, weighed down by snow. You step around it, then reach back and lift it free, setting it gently off to the side. The movement is unhurried and precise. As you place it down, snow drops from it in a small line, and you watch the powder settle, its motion slow and graceful. Overhead, the sky deepens toward indigo. The last of the day's pale light is now mostly gone, replaced by a clean darkness that doesn't feel heavy. The stars are more visible, still few, but crisp. Between the treetops, you can make out constellations you half remember, patterns that feel like old stories. The forest seems to breathe under them, quiet and steady. You keep walking, letting the path guide you. There's a comfort in not needing to choose a direction at every moment. The trail has already decided where it goes, and you can simply follow. Your pace remains slow, and with each step, your thoughts become simpler, less like words, more like impressions. Cold air, pine scent, warm scarf, soft snow. At one point, you hear a faint ticking sound. You stop and listen, head slightly turned. The sound comes again, soft, irregular, like tiny fingers tapping wood. Somewhere above, a small bird is working at a cone, or perhaps a piece of snow is falling from needle to needle. You don't need to identify it exactly. It's enough to know the forest is not empty, it's quietly alive. You walk on until you find a place where the trees part just enough to reveal a gentle slope beside the trail. The slope is covered in snow, smooth, except for the faint outline of buried rocks. You step off the path carefully, just a pace or two, and stand there. The snow holds your weight with a soft compression. You look up, and the sky feels vast and clear, as if winter has polished it. The cold air touches the inside of your nose when you inhale, and you can feel how clean it is. You imagine it moving through your body like a clear stream, washing away leftover tension. Your shoulders drop slightly. The scarf's warmth is steady, and you feel grateful for such a simple comfort: cloth and heat, protection against cold. You linger, letting the quiet surround you. When you return to the path, your footprints mark where you stepped aside, and the marks look gentle, not disruptive. Snow doesn't mind being shaped for a while. It will soften the edges later, will fill in what needs to be filled in. There's a kind of peace in that, the way winter holds changes without making a fuss. As you continue, you notice the occasional clump of snow slipping from higher branches, now that the temperature is shifting slightly with the evening. Each fall is soft, a muted thump followed by a faint scatter. Sometimes it lands close enough that you feel a tiny vibration through the ground, more sensed than heard. You smile without meaning to, not from amusement, but from contentment, as if your body recognizes the gentleness of it all. The trail narrows between two particularly tall firs. Their trunks are thick and steady, and the branches above form a canopy that blocks some of the sky. Beneath them, the snow is slightly less deep, protected by the dense needles catching flakes before they reached the ground. The air here smells even more strongly of evergreen, and the scent feels almost warm in your mind, like the memory of green in the middle of winter. You reach out again, brushing a branch as you pass. This time the snow comes down in a fine, light spray like powdered sugar. It lands on your sleeve and the back of your glove. For a moment, you hold your hand up to look at it, and you see the tiny crystals sitting there, intricate and fragile. Then, slowly, they begin to melt from your body heat, leaving a faint dampness that quickly cools and disappears. There's a gentle steadiness in the way evening arrives here. No sudden darkness, no dramatic shift, just a slow deepening of color, a gradual settling. The forest becomes more monochrome. The whites and dark greens and browns blending into a calm palette. Your eyes adjust easily, and you realize you can see well enough because the snow reflects what little light remains, holding it close to the ground. You follow the path as it bends again, and you come to a small bridge, just a simple wooden crossing over a narrow stream. The stream isn't fully frozen. It runs quietly under a thin rim of ice at the edges. The sound is soft, a secret moving beneath the snow. You step onto the bridge, and the wood gives a faint, comfortable creak, as if acknowledging your presence. You pause midway and look down. The water is dark and clear, moving slowly, carrying tiny bits of ice that spin and drift. The stream's sound is the loudest thing you've heard in a while, but even it is gentle, like murmured speech in a quiet room. The cold air above it feels slightly different, damp and cool, while the scent of pine still dominates from the surrounding trees. Standing there, you feel your own warmth more clearly. It's in your scarf, in your chest, in the steady flow of blood that keeps your fingers from going numb. You take a slow breath and let it out. The breath fogs briefly in front of you, then vanishes as if it never existed. The disappearance feels peaceful rather than sad, another reminder of how lightly things can pass through a moment. You step off the bridge and continue, boots returning to the soft crunch of snow. The trail on the far side climbs gently, and you feel a mild effort in your legs. It's the pleasant kind of effort, the kind that makes your body feel solid and grounded. Your hands stay relaxed, and when you slip one hand into your coat pocket for extra warmth, you feel the lining and the retained heat inside, a small hidden comfort. The forest around you seems to hold a delicate glow now. It isn't light exactly, more like the snow and sky share a quiet brightness. The stars are more numerous, scattered like fine salt across the darkening blue. You find yourself looking up often, enjoying the way the treetops frame the sky, and the way the sky seems to open wider the more you notice it. Another sound, very faint, like a soft flutter. You stop again, listening. Perhaps a bird has shifted on its perch, or a small creature has moved under the snow. You don't see anything, and that's fine. Not seeing becomes part of the calm. No need to confirm, no need to solve. The forest can keep its gentle secrets. You continue walking until you feel the slightest change in the air, just a subtle hint of openness ahead. The trees begin to space out again, and the path leads toward a small clearing. When you reach it, you see a wide, quiet oval of snow surrounded by conifers. The clearing is unmarked, smooth, and bright in the starlight, as if it has been freshly made. You step into the clearing slowly, and your footprints become the first marks across it. The sound of your steps seems even softer here, absorbed by the open snow. You stop near the center and turn in a slow circle, taking in the forest edge all around. The trees stand like a protective ring, and above them, the sky looks deeper and fuller, as if you've stepped into a bowl of night. You stand still, and the quiet feels almost like a presence beside you. Your cheeks are cold now, and the cold has made them feel smooth and slightly numb at the edges. You pull the scarf up a bit more, letting its warmth touch higher on your face. The fabric holds heat like a gentle hand, and you let your shoulders relax further, letting your body settle into comfort. In the clearing, the smell of pine is still there, but softer, carried on the open air. The scent is mixed with the clean smell of snow, light, crisp, almost like nothing, but unmistakable. You inhale slowly and feel that the breath is colder here, without the trees blocking and holding it. The cold feels pure, not threatening, like clear water in winter. You look down at the snow near your boots and notice how it reflects starlight. Not brightly, but enough that the surface seems faintly luminous. You can see where individual crystals catch light, tiny points that appear and vanish as you shift your gaze. The effect is hypnotic in the gentlest way, like watching the surface of a calm lake. After a while, you begin walking again, crossing the clearing toward the far side where the path continues. Your pace remains measured. There's no rush, no destination that matters more than the quiet itself. The forest feels like it's giving you space to be exactly as you are, calm, clear, and unburdened. At the far edge of the clearing, the path slips back between trees. The trunks here are closer together, and the snow on the branches is thicker. You brush one branch lightly, and a small pile drops with a soft thud at your feet, sending up a tiny puff of powder. A few grains land on your boot, and you watch them cling to the leather before falling away as you take the next step. The temperature seems to drop a little as night settles fully. You feel it most on your cheeks and the bridge of your nose, but the warmth of your scarf and coat balances it easily. You adjust your scarf once more, tucking it in so no cold air sneaks down your collar, and the comfort that follows feels immediate and satisfying. The path begins to descend again, you walk carefully, letting your knees bend slightly with each step. The snow is stable, and the trail is easy to follow. In the dimmer light, your attention shifts more to texture and sound. The snow underfoot compresses with each step, and the sound has a rhythm that becomes soothing, like slow percussion. You hear the stream again in the distance, quieter now, and you realize you are moving through a landscape that continues whether you listen or not. The forest doesn't perform, it simply exists. That thought makes you feel strangely peaceful, as if you are allowed to exist in the same way, without needing to prove anything, without needing to be impressive. As you walk, you notice the way the cold keeps your mind clear. Thoughts arise, but they feel lighter, less sticky. They pass through like your breath cloud, forming briefly, then dissolving. You don't need to follow them. You can return to the smell of pine, the warmth of the scarf, the gentle pressure of your boots in snow. A low cluster of branches hangs over the trail like a curtain. You move through it slowly, brushing the needles with your sleeve. Snow slides off onto your shoulders in a soft spill. For a moment, you feel the cold weight of it. Then it begins to melt slightly against your coat, and the sensation becomes simply cool, then neutral. The branches behind you spring back a little, and the path continues. The forest seems even quieter now, as if night has lowered its voice. The stars above are brighter, and the spaces between trees feel deeper. Yet nothing feels frightening. The darkness is gentle, softened by snow and by the steady lines of trunks. You feel held, as if the forest is a calm room, and you are moving through it with a warm scarf and a steady breath. You find yourself noticing small details more. The way snow gathers on the top edge of a fallen log, the way a pinecone half buried in snow creates a tiny bump in an otherwise smooth surface, the way a branch shadow stretches across the path like a faint watercolor stripe. Each detail feels complete in itself. Nothing is asking for more than your quiet attention. You stop beside a young pine and place your gloved hand lightly on its trunk. The bark is rough beneath the glove and cold but solid. You don't squeeze or press hard. You simply rest your hand there for a moment. The tree stands without effort, and you borrow some of its steadiness, letting it remind you how calm strength can be. When you let go and continue, your hand feels warmer inside the glove from the brief contact. Or perhaps it's your imagination. Either way, the sensation is comforting. You walk on with your shoulders loose and your jaw relaxed. Your breathing is slow, and you can feel the scarf rising and falling slightly with each inhale and exhale. The path begins to show faint signs of earlier travel, old footprints softened by new snow, barely visible. They look like gentle dents rather than sharp impressions, as if time has already begun to smooth them out. Seeing them makes you feel less alone in a pleasant way. Someone else walked here quietly and then left without disturbing the peace. You follow those faint traces for a while until they disappear under a fresh drift where snow fell from a branch. The trail remains clear enough, and you keep going. The forest seems to guide you by subtle cues, a slightly lower corridor between branches, a curve that naturally avoids a dense thicket, a gentle widening where the ground levels out. You don't have to think, you just move. Eventually, the air changes again. It's still cold, but there's a hint of something else, perhaps the nearness of the forest's edge, or the presence of open space beyond. The trees thin slightly, and you catch a glimpse of a faint glow through the trunks far ahead. It isn't harsh, just a soft amber, like a distant window or a small lamp. The glow makes you feel calm rather than eager. You don't rush toward it. You keep your pace slow, letting the warmth of your scarf remain the center of your comfort. The cold on your cheeks is now a familiar companion, and you notice that your face feels clean and awake, as if winter has polished it. You take another deep breath of pine-scented air and let it out slowly. As you approach the faint light, the path becomes slightly more defined. The snow is a bit more compact here, perhaps from occasional walkers, or from the way the wind has shaped it at the forest's edge. Your steps sound a little different, still soft, but more crisp. The change is subtle, like the difference between whispering on fabric and whispering on paper. You reach a place where the trees open enough to reveal the sky more fully. Now the stars are everywhere, sharp points against a deep, clear night. The moon, still low, adds a gentle brightness that turns the snow into a quiet field of light. You pause and tilt your head back, letting yourself look up without strain, and and you feel a sense of spaciousness in your chest, like your breath has more room. For a moment, you simply stand there, boots planted, scarf warm, cheeks cold, eyes on the sky. You listen again. The rare sounds continue. A distant creak of wood settling, a small fall of snow from a branch, the faint suggestion of moving water. The forest offers these sounds like tiny gifts, and you receive them without needing to hold on to them. When you begin walking again, you do it even more slowly, as if you're moving through a place that deserves tenderness. The path now gently leads toward the source of the soft amber glow. Through the trees, you can make out a small structure in the distance, perhaps a cabin or a forest shelter, quiet and simple. It feels welcoming not because it promises excitement, but because it promises rest. You don't need to go inside. Just knowing it exists is enough, like knowing there is warmth somewhere in the world. You approach until you are close enough to see a window with a small light behind it. The light doesn't spill far onto the snow. It stays close, modest, and contained. It doesn't try to conquer the dark. It simply holds a warm space within it. You stop at a respectful distance and look back the way you came. The path behind you is a gentle line, your footprints marking it in a calm sequence. Beyond that, the forest stands quiet, snow-laden, and still. You feel a sense of completion, like you've walked not to arrive somewhere, but to let your mind become as clear as the winter air. You turn back toward the small glow and let yourself imagine stepping into warmth. You imagine removing your gloves slowly, feeling your fingers relax. You imagine loosening the scarf and feeling the warmth you've carried close to your throat spread into the room around you. You imagine the smell of pine lingering on your clothes, a clean, green memory of the forest. But for now, you remain outside a moment longer, enjoying the contrast. Cold air on your cheeks, warm scarf against your skin, the quiet weight of night above. You take one last slow breath in, filling your lungs with that crisp pine-scented air, and then let it out gently. Your body feels heavy in the best way, grounded and calm. In your mind, the walk begins to soften at the edges, becoming less like a sequence and more like a single feeling: crystalline quiet, fresh air, slow footsteps, and snow falling in small, gentle showers from branches you touched. The forest remains behind you, steady and silent, holding its winter evening without effort. And you carry the calm with you, as if it has settled into your scarf, your breath, and the quiet spaces between your thoughts, ready to follow you into sleep.